What's up, everyone? How's it going? How's it going, guys? Welcome to Creative Corner. Thanks for joining us. AP Drones, what's up, guys? Awesome. We have a special guest today. I'm super excited to talk to this guy. He's got an amazing YouTube channel. We're going to get into that as well, and a health nut as well. His name is Sergei Boutenko, and Sergei is a filmmaker, author, entrepreneur, and health nut and adventurer. He has published numerous books and documentaries about diet and exercising. This guy is like built. He also runs a thriving YouTube channel called Boutenko Films, where he has hundreds of original videos on various topics. What is up, Scott? How are you, my man? Good to see you. BT Photography, how's it going, brother? Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to Creative Corner. So, as soon as there's Sergei right there, it looks like he's going to maybe soon. Well, we'll get Sergei on here as soon as he requests to join in, and then we will get things going. I'm going to feel free to ask us any questions that you want. I'm going to go ahead and pin a comment right now, so just give me one sec. Let's see here. Dun, dun. Just pinning this topic and we'll be ready to roll. It's hard to pin a topic when people are joining in. It won't let you do it. There we go. Cool. So ask us any questions down there in the comments, and if we don't answer them immediately, then we will get right to them. I have another sheet that is feeding in comments, so we don't miss them and we can keep our conversation going. So on right now, we're gonna see how this thing goes. My camera box, what's up, man? How are you?
Yo!
What's up, brother? How are you?
What's up? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, sounding good. Sounding good.
Great.
All right. How are things going?
Just living the dream, stuck at home, but I'm not bored. It's hard for me to get bored.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you've got a lot going on with the van and stuff. I was checking out some of your van videos, and that was really cool to check out.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that in a little bit. But just, I wanted to start off first. I have to ask. It's Sergei, right?
It's Sergei.
Sergei.
I have a funny story about that if you want to hear.
Let's hear it.
When we immigrated from Russia to the United States, I was given the name Sergei at birth. It's a very common Russian name, not so common in the U.S., but it does have that little gay part in it. And so in elementary school, kids were super brutal. You know, they teased me, so then I decided with mom to change the sound of the G, make it Sergei.
Sergei.
And so for about 10 years of my life, I was Sergei, which oddly enough sounds maybe a little bit more gay. Not that there's anything wrong with adult where I went to introduce
Yeah. Oh, you're breaking up a little bit. Just
How about now? Is that better?
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
That's a little bit better. Yeah. Kind of going in and out. Where are you based out of? Where are you at right now?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Having some connection issues with you, my man. Let's see. We got the load screen of death. We got the pinwheel of death going right now on our end on your video.
Is that a little bit better?
Now I got you. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
As soon as sorry about that. As soon as I asked you where you were based out of, it went into freak out mode. So where are you out of?
I am Tacoma, Washington currently.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, so let's go ahead and get into a couple of questions I got for you. What, you have a unique lifestyle and a unique set of videos on YouTube, and we'll get into that later. But I guess first off, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you're kind of an adventure enthusiast and you base a lot of your videos around that. But tell us just a little bit about yourself. Kind of, you can spill the beans.
Well, I was brought up in a very unorthodox fashion. My parents immigrated from Russia, like I already mentioned, and I just grew up as a raw food vegan. We slept on hard surfaces in fresh air. And when I say hard surfaces, I just mean a board covered with a sheet. from an early age, I got accustomed to doing things like hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. You know, so I had like a very non-traditional upbringing, and I guess that shaped me into who I am now. And so while I try not to be that extreme about anything in my personal life, I do find that curiosities come up. I feel inspired, I feel motivated, and I just follow those curiosities. And I do that mostly with film as well as books. And I guess that creates a variety of different things, spanning from health food to green smoothies to van life to reviewing cool products like Litra gear on my channel. So it's not very easy to describe who I am or what I do, but I guess the easiest way to say it would be that I'm a very curious person, and I like to learn. I love hearing what people have to say and learning from people. Everybody has something to teach. And if you can find what it is somebody is passionate about, then you have the best teacher in front of you. And I try and listen as best as I can and then learn.
Awesome. Yeah, you're kind of hitting like all these different angles, whether it's like van life, or there's a lot of like, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but like a lot of like how to make green smoothies, and you have like a green smoothie challenge I saw. You have how to build out your van. So it's a really cool, like different approach. It's not like master filmmaking techniques and skills. It's more like come on my adventure with me and let's be healthy type of thing is kind of what I picked up.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of that type of content on YouTube, and I try very hard to not just brag and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing, watch me. I try and learn, digest, and show people something helpful, whether that be how to make garden beds or how to set up your van a little bit more, intelligently or whatever, or how to make a smoothie, because I've been making smoothies for 20 years, and so I've learned a thing or two over that time.
Yeah, so you've kind of done like what fits best for you and kind of what's most healthy and kind of what's most interesting to you. But how did the video stuff come along? When did you decide that okay, I should start documenting this? I kind of want to create a following, because you're pushing like 63,000 followers on YouTube, I think.
Yeah.
And you're gonna hit that 100K mark sooner than later. So kind of when were you like, all right, this should be documented, aside from all the effort we're putting into the food and the van life?
It actually wasn't my choice at first. Back in the kind of late 90s, early 2000s, producing video was very expensive.
Yeah.
And my mom, who's an internationally acclaimed author and speaker, she would get her lectures filmed, and that would cost around 10 grand at the time just to film a 2-hour lecture and then produce it and make a VHS or then later a DVD. And so at a certain point, she was like, I have kids. I can't afford this anymore. So she bought my sister and I cameras, and she's like, you learn how to do it now.
Yeah. That's really cool. What was she teaching?
She was teaching raw food lectures, green smoothie lectures, health related, alternative health. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so through that, I've discovered that a camera is a really cool tool to look at this world a little bit differently, right? You can speed up footage and make a time lapse and see huge blocks of time in a short amount of time. You could slow things down. You could just, I mean, this is kind of a generic thing to say, but you can tell stories in a very different way. And so that intrigued me, and I've just stuck with it ever since. Eventually YouTube came around. I hopped on there pretty early, had no idea what it was. Still am kind of trying to figure out what it is, and
sure,
just kept doing it.
Awesome. No, that's really cool. What's up, Shoot Guru? Thanks for saying hey. So we're as these feed in, if we don't answer them right off the bat, then we'll get to them, or I'll ask you. Just so that's for you and for the viewers. So what do you kind of classify yourself as, if you would classify yourself? Are you a photographer? Are you like a filmmaker?
The easiest way to say it is filmmaker, author. And if you want to really break it down, I'm specifically most interested in documentary style filmmaking, or some would say vlogumentary style filmmaking.
Sure.
So every year I try to make at least 1 hour or more documentary style movie. And then generally in a year, I'll write 1 to 2 ebooks or 1 book. So I just kind of do that. And then all the little videos on YouTube are just in the intro.
Yeah, and then your books are based on mostly health, correct?
Mostly health. My last book, which I have right here, is about wild edibles. So how to
Very cool.
forage. I have videos about that too. And, basically when we hiked from Mexico to Canada on the PCT, we realized there's a lot of free food out there. You just have
Yeah.
to be very cautious and know where to look. And then you can drastically reduce the amount of weight that you're carrying on your back.
Yeah.
So that was the fire starter, and then I've gone on since then, since 1998, and just studied it extensively with other teachers, read lots of books, and just practice what I preach.
That's really cool. That's something that I don't think an average person thinks about is
Yeah.
when they look around, they're like, oh, the flowers smell good, or that plant smells good, or it looks cool, but is it edible? I think the main thing that we've learned is, you got to watch out for certain mushrooms. That's definitely the correct thing, right?
You got to watch out for everything. I'm not one of these people that says, it's completely risk-free.
Sure.
But I will say that when the media or whoever blows up the fact that you shouldn't eat plants because they're dangerous, I don't really think that's fair, because
Right.
you literally have to pick a plant and put it in your mouth voluntarily to damage yourself. And
Right.
so my first rule is don't eat something if you don't know what it is. And if you follow that one rule, you'll never hurt yourself.
No, that's really, really, really cool. So what's a working day look like for you? We'll get into more of the book stuff later, but what's a working day look like for you, like an average work day?
Perfect. Look at this right here. That's what a working day looks like.
So you've got, is that by day or is that by, yeah, it looks like by time, so probably by individual day.
It's more or less, every day could be quite different, but I more or less wake up at 6 a.m. every morning. I go on a walk, kind of clear my head, drink my coffee or my tea, and then I spend 2 hours every day writing. And this could be writing a book that I'm writing, finishing stuff up. This could be just like writing YouTube descriptions.
Right.
When I first started doing YouTube, I wouldn't script anything. I just kind of shot and just bulk captured everything, and it was a nightmare. And so I've wisened up, and now I at least will plan shoots with bullet points. Like I want to accomplish this, 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 and this.
Right.
And that just expedites the entire process.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. That's true for any type of filmmaking, whether it, obviously large scale productions as well. That's why we have those pre-production meetings. I mean, you realize how much time it saves you in the editing room just by doing half of that time in pre-production. And then it also just allows you seem like a really organized guy, just judging from your day routine on the side there. And then you've got like all these post-it notes like behind you, so you seem like you're pretty organized. So I'm sure that helps in the process.
it helps so much. And it's not even that I want to be organized, it's that I have OCD. And if I don't get things out of my head and onto paper or onto checklists, they'll literally drive me nuts.
Right.
And so one thing I learned from my buddy Blaine is you just write a bunch of post-it notes, stick them to whatever you have. I have a door. And then it's out of your head. You don't have to worry about it, and you have a plan of action.
Right.
And then the cool thing about post-it notes is you can crumple them up and throw them in a bucket, and at the end of the year, you can look back at a full bucket of crumpled post-it notes, and you're like, damn, I got some stuff done.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you can kind of count your check marks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an agenda sheet I use on notes on my phone, but once that phone goes dead, then it's not as handy to have, right? So it's always kind of interesting to see how people organize their pre-production process and their daily routine. I want to touch briefly on, I mean, you just mentioned it, but your writing, because you're a writer. So
yeah,
what's that process like when you, I mean, obviously you realized for the edible book that you were talking about briefly there, you said, well, you realized when you're on the Pacific Rim Trail or Pacific Crest Trail, that you realized everything was edible around you, or most things were. So what made you decide to write a book, and what's that process look like compared to making a film?
Surprisingly, the process of writing a book and writing a film is incredibly similar, because so you have a film and a book. That's essentially the same thing. The end result is a packaged item, a product.
Right.
A book has chapters. film has segments or sections, or you know what I mean, and so, scenes. So you basically just, the way that I start to write a book or a movie, for example, I just start a table of content. So I want to hit these points. These are my chapters. These are my scenes. And I kind of work on that. And that's always in flux. Sometimes I delete chapters. Sometimes I add chapters. And then I just try and put one foot in front of the other. So I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm dreading writing. I don't want to write today. I don't want to edit today. But out of this table of content, that chapter seems the most inspirational to me right now. And so I just give myself the goal of writing one of those or half of one of those. And so, you do this enough, you do this for a month, for 6 months, for a year, and at the end of it, you have a movie, you have a book. And so it's literally just plan, attack, create, and then it's done.
No, that's really good advice. And I think, yeah, like you said, whether it's a book or you're making a film or you're going on a shoot just for photos, like that production process is very similar. But I think the keyword there is attack and like the action, but I think a simple plan can really, really shorten up your day and help you organize. I want to move more into the video world.
Yeah.
It's like I was saying a little bit earlier, it seems like a lot of your videos are around like health specifically. What made you want to get into that genre of video? I know you have like the van stuff, and we'll talk about that, but what about this health stuff?
Well, again, I think the health stuff came from my upbringing. My parents are very much into it. As I already mentioned, my mom's written dozens of books. They've been translated in lots of languages. And so I got a nice little nudge from her. But also, just growing up, our diet was awful. And because of it, we all had health problems. And when the health problems got bad enough that we had to go see doctors are like, your health problems aren't things that we can really fix. You got to take these drugs for the rest of your life and you'll never get better. So my mom started looking into alternatives and discovered books and videos about health and nutrition. We started experimenting with them and eventually found ourselves eating only raw food, being vegans. And so that kind of brought me into health. Now I want to kind of make clear that I'm no longer raw food or vegan. I eat a lot of vegan food and a lot of raw food, but I've since kind of become more moderate about it because I think that it's taken me many years to make sense of it all. But in summary, we started out here, standard American diet, which is one extreme. And then we assumed that because that wasn't working, we should do the polar opposite extreme, raw food, vegan eating.
Right.
And that worked for a while, but also led to some health problems eventually. And so now I'm trying to plot a course somewhere in the middle here. And, and why do I make health-related content? Because it's still very much a part of my life. I think that when we feel healthy and energetic, that gives us the strength to do whatever else we're interested in. So, you can't drive your car very far if you don't fill it with gas. And if you fill it with really good gas, you get better gas mileage. And so, that's my answer.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. And I think, really your initiative there and your goal, I believe, is to, talk to others and show others what to do the right way so they don't have to go through what maybe you went through or your family, other family members went through, right?
Yeah.
So I think YouTube is a great platform for that. Obviously, that's where a lot of people go to seek out information. So I can see why that crowd is so intrigued in your videos, and it obviously shows with your subscriber count. And that's a good segue for this because I want to chat about your YouTube channel just in general. But I kind of want to, divert from the health stuff. We can talk about that still, but I really want to talk about the van life stuff because that's a really cool and new thing that people are doing. It doesn't seem like you're full-time in a van. It looks like you're in a home right now.
Yeah.
So what's that life like, and what are you using that van for, and how has it helped you kind of on your video and film journey?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that van life isn't anything new. I think going back to the Pilgrims or maybe even, 15th century Europe when people traveled in wagons, that was van life. I think there's been a huge resurgence because we have much cooler, much more fuel efficient vans now.
Right.
And I kind of popped into this whole thing not even knowing that there was a van life movement. I was touring around with my book a lot, and as you know, I go on tour for 3 months. I shuck out $15,000 on hotel rooms, and it was painful for me to do that because I wasn't even in the hotel rooms. I'd go out and teach my workshops, teach my lectures, come back at midnight, fall into bed, sleep for 6 hours, and do it all over again.
Right.
And so I kind of thought, is there a better way? And for a while, I was rocking a Acura SUV, and so I was trying to sleep in that, which worked, but it wasn't great. And so then the Sprinter van kind of fully made it into the US, and I was like, holy moly, this could be a game changer.
Right.
So I bought one and just diverted the money I was shucking out on hotel rooms into paying the lease, or not the lease, the payment, monthly payments. And hands down, the best car I've ever had. It's just, you can camp in it. You can have some creature comforts if you need it. You can use it for family type activities. It could be a soccer van. It could be a badass, zombie mobile. It's just very versatile, and the options are just getting more and more crazy and more fun.
Yeah. So how have you, implemented your film life and your YouTube stuff with the van? Like, obviously it allows you to get from one place to the other to film, but you've kind of also centered a lot of your content around that build out. I watched your little short film. I guess it's about the length of a feature, actually. It's about an hour. But you talked about installing like the ladders, and you talked about installing the showers on top and things like that. You had a lot of time lapses in there and all the research that you were doing. And I remember you saying that you were spending around $15K to $20K annually on hotels for your tour. But how has that really helped you as a filmmaker? Do you feel like it not only does it give you content specifically, or does it allow you to go to places and stay longer than you maybe would?
You're right on both accounts. It does give me content, but that's not why I make van videos. I'm just very interested in van stuff. I kind of geek out on it, and it's fun for me. How has it helped me as a filmmaker? Well, whereas before I had to go and stay at a hotel, now I can stay in the van much closer to the film location, right? So I don't have to it saves me time there. I don't have to wake up at a hotel somewhere and drive and then kind of meet that call time or whatever. Furthermore, if I'm taking like a nighttime time lapse, I just set my camera up on top of my van, and I feel so much better about just going to sleep in my van, and my stuff's there. If anybody climbs up on my van, I'll hear it, wake up, and address the situation accordingly.
Yeah.
So the ease of use for a filmmaker is just so much better. And then, you could just organize your gear very well in a van as well. You could have your tripods in one drawer. You could have your cameras secure in another place. And so it almost becomes unnecessary to, at the end of a day of filmmaking, unload my van and dump the film equipment somewhere else. I could just leave it in a van, park it in the garage. It's safe and secure. And then in the morning when I wake up, I just resume where I started. So huge time saver.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like the and you kind of had like the kettlebell like drawer in the back, or like the little slots. You could just throw a kettlebell at someone if they were climbing up on the top of your van, right?
A funny story is that so I grew up in a small town called Ashland, Oregon. And when I got my van, one of my friends that owned a flower shop said, "Hey, we're down a person for flower delivery. Can you help us out?" So I cleared everything out of my van and shoved so many flowers in there that I just destroyed. Whereas people with regular cars would have to go and resupply 4 or 5 times a day, I just packed all the flowers in for the entire day and just delivered. And so they started calling me up every year for Mother's Day and for Valentine's Day. And it's kind of an anecdote for the van life. It's like, if you set it up for your own needs, it could be a filming van, it could be a camping van, it could be a family van, it could be a flower delivery van, and everything in between.
Right. No, that's really cool. It serves a bunch of different purposes, that's really cool. And I'm jealous of that. I've obviously looked into, I have a camper and I sold it, but I'm really jealous of that type of Sprinter van style. I'm about 6'2", so I need something I can stand up in, like Sprinter style.
Yeah.
And I love that look. And then you're talking about storing your equipment and just kind of leaving it in there. I actually I have a Forerunner, and I built some shelving in the back where I can, shove
Hmm.
lights, and then like, stands and tripods, and then those can just be underneath there. And whether that back is open or shut, it's easily accessible.
There you
Um,
go. That a
yeah,
boy.
so it's kind of the same thing, but I obviously you're I can't compare to that van. Do you have a
No,
name?
you absolutely can, because they're making the same van life people or similar people, the overlander people. There's some insane products for forerunners and trucks and stuff. And so
Yeah.
there's like a whole new resurgence of this stuff. And, you just slap a rooftop tent on yours and you got a van.
Yeah, yeah, and they make that attachment. And my
They
buddy
do.
has a company that does like rooftop tents, which we've been looking into, and we had an FJ before that, but
Hmm.
we're kind of going off tangent. But you're right, that overland stuff and this van life thing is really taking over. I just think you as a filmmaker having access to that much room and being able to stay overnight in certain spots, and
Hmm.
because every time I go camping, I'm in Utah, and every time I go down south, I'm shooting star lapses on sliders and doing all
Mm,
that. It'd be nice to have that up higher and not worry about it being ground level. Maybe an animal could
totally.
hit it or something.
And also, if you do ever film live events, you're 9 feet above the crowd. So it kind of gives you like a little standing platform.
Yeah, it gives you a better view as well, right?
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite part of the whole filmmaking process? I mean, we talked about pre-production and how much easier it
Mm.
is to go into production once you plan. What's kind of your favorite part? And I'm guessing it's not editing, but you have to edit everything.
I don't mind the editing. A lot of
Really?
people, you know, I'm not going to claim that I'm the best editor or whatever. That's for you guys to decide, or the worst editor. I like editing because it's one of the most creative parts of filmmaking. That's kind of where the story really comes alive. But if I had to choose one, like the best part, for me, it's the dreaming. Like the very first stage, even before you really start scripting, when an idea pops into your head, and most times I don't even know where that idea came from. I'm like, wow, this would be cool. And
Right.
then maybe I do a little bit of market research, and maybe there's nothing out there that kind of what I want to see, or it's out there but not in the capacity that I want to see. And then the dreaming begins, and it's just so full of awe and wonder that is the most pleasant part by far. And it's kind of interesting. Only later on in my filmmaking career, like only now am I starting to realize that part is really easy to miss and just ignore and just move
Yeah.
on to the next stage and start planning. And I think that is a very big mistake. I think you have to enjoy it. Otherwise, you run the risk of stressing yourself out, trying to push for a limit that you'll never achieve, and ultimately you suck a lot of the fun out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're totally right there. I think yesterday I did a Zoom podcast. I host a podcast called Take 43 Podcast. And if you haven't listened to it, totally do it. Could be
I
good for
will.
driving. But we had a really good, a really amazing DP out of Los Angeles we were interviewing yesterday.
Hmm.
And I always leave the listener on like one piece of advice. And his one piece of advice yesterday was remember why we got into this industry, remember why we started, and remember why remember that to keep it fun and keep everyone close like a family, and don't be a jerk while on set. And to your point, I think we have to remember why we got into it and why we love to do it, and we need to keep it fun because
Hmm.
sometimes we can stress ourselves out, but we got to remember they're just videos.
They're
um
just videos. Don't take them too seriously.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
the quality will benefit because of that. If you're fun and relaxed, like if you and I are talking and one of us gets rigid and just starts overthinking everything, the conversation will degrade. And if
Right.
you and I just maintain some level of relaxedness, then
Yeah,
it'll just be better.
it's just better all around. No, I totally agree with you. So now I noticed that your light kicked off there. So that's a great segue
Yeah.
for me. How did you get involved with Litra, and what was that process like for you? Kind of how has Litra helped accomplish your goals?
Well, I cold called Litra because I saw their products and I was very intrigued.
Hmm.
And I was specifically intrigued back to the van life thing because of their Litra torches having magnetic backs.
Yeah.
A lot of the shooting I do is in very confined corners in like less than 200 square feet, aka a van.
Right.
And so it's not really fun, nor is it really an option to set up big lighting in that kind of situation. And so I was like, I wonder if this little light can help me out. So it just blew me out of the water. I can literally take a Litrolight. I have them all over the place here. You know, I could take one of these guys and just stick them anywhere on my van because it's just a big metal can. And now I have a
True.
light plugged into exactly what I want to be filming. So
Yeah.
then that was benefit number one. The fact that you can go scuba diving with them, the fact that they're so versatile and bomb-proof just sweetens the deal. And at this point, I think I've played with and reviewed every single light that Litra makes, and they just keep getting better. So
Right. Yeah, it's crazy kind of the progression that we've
yeah.
taken off to, and now the size of lighting that we're making with the studio and stuff. So I've
Mm-hmm.
never thought about that in a van. Yeah, everything's magnetic. So you've got, I have a backlight on me right now that you can see. It's on
Mm-hmm.
the brim of my head. I've got my
Yeah.
main, I've got two torches on each side with filters, and I have a kick over here, so I'm not so dark over here. But you
Mm-hmm.
could technically do that exact same thing without stands, just putting one up directly above you for your top there. You could
Yep.
put one on the front corner for your main light. That has to be just super handy.
And I know that you guys focus mostly on like film and creation, but these are also just super practical tools for
Yeah,
life.
occasionally.
At one point, I got a flat tire in the van, and I was able to just plug it up into a wheel well, and now I don't have to hold anything. My headlamp's not really bouncing. Everything's perfectly illuminated.
Yep.
Fixed it. Went well on my way.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's cool to hear you say that. Absolutely. And I take mine camping all the time. I'll, connect one to my dog's collar so I know where she's at. And,
Mm,
not only are we using them to take like long exposure photos, but then we can just take those lights right back to the campground and throw them in the tents. And,
yeah.
I've built like, we have these walkways, to our tent that's kind of out in the forest or in the desert. And then I'll just align the trail with them because they last for forever. So you can just put them
Forever.
on. So yeah,
If you go
yeah,
spelunking, you'll put your friends to shame.
absolutely. And then you'll
Yeah.
blind them too when they're looking at you.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool to hear you say. What's your favorite Litra accessory, you think?
My favorite Litra accessory is your handles, as well as the little bracket that holds the light and a GoPro.
Yeah,
I just think that's bomb proof. And then second favorite would be the light boxes,
yeah, the soft boxes.
the soft
Yeah,
boxes. Yeah.
those are great. And if you like the handle with the dual handle, you're gonna love the cage. The cage just came out. It's on the
Mm,
website right now, and it's
mm,
about this big. It holds up to like, you can put 4 to 6 pros on it. You could put
mm,
who knows how many torches on it. I haven't even tried that. You
mm.
could put 4 studios on it. So
Oh
it's just a
damn.
really nice bracket device, and it's about this big, and you can hold it on both sides and then mount it to a stand as well. I always try to like leave the listener and viewers on like a good piece of advice, and
Mm,
I think not only have you given good advice, but I know that a lot of your health advice is really good as well. So I'm hoping they'll
mm.
take it in. But I want to specifically touch on YouTube because it seems like your following there is pretty strong. Do you have any advice for someone that's maybe looking to get into full-time YouTube or trying to start that and just haven't done it yet? What would be something you'd say to them?
Absolutely. I'll give you the advice that everybody gives, but you never hear because it's been my experience that there are no shortcuts in life, and you just have to like smash your face against the table until you finally understand. And that
Right.
is make videos about the stuff you're interested in. Otherwise, you're just not going to do it. I'm interested in van life. I run a variety channel on YouTube, which is like kind of the worst advice that you could ever give anybody because people are always like, find a niche, stick to your niche, be
Sure.
consistent. But I like doing different stuff. I'm like an onion. I have many layers. I have lots of different curiosities, and I'm following them, and it seems to be paying off. And the reason I've been able to maintain it for 13 years is because I love what I do. And
Yeah.
people always say that, just like do film stuff, and it's really true. but it took me a long time to actually understand what those words mean.
Right.
That's my advice. Just stick
No,
to something.
I
Yeah.
think that's great advice. Yeah, and I think to go back on that, I think that your YouTube channel, even though yeah, you say that most people, I talk a lot with the vidIQ guys and their analysis for YouTubers, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a couple of guys that work for them that I'm in contact with, and they say yeah, find your audience, find your niche, and then build off of that. But you have some band stuff, you have some health stuff, you
Mm-hmm.
have these challenges. I still think that kind of falls under the same category of kind of this like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this outdoor adventure health guy who's like
Yeah.
cool. And I feel like you're hitting different angles, but I still think they're under the same umbrella, if that makes sense. So,
I love hearing
and
that. Thank you.
yeah, and I think that your audience and subscription count reflects that as well. I also think that you've done a good job balancing, from what I've seen, balancing your releases and your uploads. So,
Mm-hmm.
kind of sitting around health for a bit, and then you'll release like this really awesome band video that's like an hour and a half long, and then you'll kind
Mm-hmm.
of go maybe back to health, or you'll put up a challenge so your audience can get more involved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it was really cool. So I would give yourself more credit for that, because I still think they're all
Awesome.
under the same umbrella.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. And the
Yeah.
only other thing that I would add is, sometimes we judge ourselves against other people and we think, oh, how come this person did it for a year and he has X amount of subscribers and I've been doing it for 10 years and I have this much? And the truth there is that even though somebody might have just jumped on YouTube last year, the amount of experience they have doing other stuff led up to that point, So like,
Yeah.
really, that's a bad judgment. That's a bad comparison because you're comparing apples to oranges. You have
Right.
no idea what person A did for 10 years of his life, like the kind of crap he had to eat, how hard he or she had to work, and then that all led up to them being to peaking, And so just be easy
Yeah.
on yourself and enjoy the views that you're getting. And if you do it consistently enough, the views will get more and more and more, and it'll pay off.
Yeah, I think you're completely right, man. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat with YouTube, kind of a battle, because I've been making commercial content for years now and doing high-end short films and things like that. But honestly, people don't care about your collection of client work. They just don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's not where that stuff should live. And I remember reading a book about I can't remember the name of the book. I'll send it to you later
Mm-hmm.
and I'll post it. But it's about YouTubers and how they've built, kind of their own journey and path. And it's
Mm-hmm.
about this lady who was in the middle of America, and she had a sewing quilting company.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like and then she started making these quilting videos and how to quilt and all this stuff. And she got a huge following. And she wasn't even a video person. It was just what she was what the content was. It wasn't about the filmmaking or the process. It was about the content itself. So just kind of building off of what you said. So I think
100%.
Yeah, I think it's all about that specific content. So I'm really glad you hopped on, man. It was nice to actually meet you via phone, and this was really fun. And I appreciate all of your. Yes, he did it. Oh, look at that thing.
This is
Police
police protection.
You look like a glorified minion.
Totally. Yeah. Just for kicks, this is who gave me the inspiration. This little kid right here.
That's amazing.
So. And
tell the watchers why you built that.
I'm working on a new documentary right now. It's called Sauna Trailer. The name says exactly what the project is going to be about. But the entire world is sold out of face shields.
Yeah.
And when you're grinding metal and cutting metal, you don't want a cutting wheel embedded in your face. And so I had to make myself some face protection, and a bucket did the trick.
Well, I think the viewers can look forward to maybe a trailer of that video. I'm hoping you're filming it, right? I mean, you're making a video about it. So
there's some version of a trailer already on YouTube, but
okay,
there'll be more soon.
Well, that's absolutely. Well, I think everyone should check you out on your Instagram. It's linked down there, obviously, and then check out your website, Sergei Boutenko, right?
SergeiBoutenko.com and Boutenko Films on YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah. So, dude, thanks so much for joining us. It was awesome meeting you. And
thanks for having me.
you ever drive through Utah, let me know on here, and let's get together and hang out and shoot some fun stuff.
I'd really like that. Thanks, Drew.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
See ya. All right, guys, that was it. Sergei is awesome. He does a lot of unique stuff, and he's crazy traveler. Yes, Sergei is the man. Like, absolutely. And really enjoyed talking to him. I think he had some really good insight about YouTube specifically, and I think you guys will enjoy his content. So make sure you click on his Instagram and check out his YouTube channel as well. And this has been the Creative Corner with Drew Williams. And thanks so much for joining us. And we will see you next week. We got more guests coming next week, so make sure you tune in. Bye, guys.